Are you sure you want to invite the CEO of Horizon Enterprises to your wedding, Sophia?" My mom gazed at me with concern as we went over the guest list. I was perched at the kitchen table in our family home, surrounded by floral samples and invitation cards. "Yes, Mom, I'm certain. Mr. Charles Grayson has been my biggest client since I launched my consulting firm. His contracts helped me grow the business significantly." "But he's such a big deal," Mom pressed. "Won't he steal the spotlight at your wedding?" I smiled, checking his name on the list. Charles Grayson, CEO of Horizon Enterprises. There was something about his name that always piqued my curiosity, though I could never pinpoint why. "Don't worry, Mom. He's surprisingly down to earth for someone in his position." Just then, my sister, Emily, strutted into the kitchen with her usual air of superiority. Ever since we were kids, she'd carried this attitude toward me, especially after landing her high-powered job as a bank executive. Still hung up on that absurd idea of inviting Grayson, she sneered. "Aren't you embarrassed to mix business with your wedding?" "Emily, please," Mom interjected. "Your sister knows what she's doing." Emily let out a mocking laugh. "My sister, sure, if you say so." "Emily," Mom's voice cracked like a whip. I stared at them both, sensing something odd in their exchange, but I brushed it off. With my wedding to David looming, I had too much on my plate to dwell on Emily's typical snide remarks. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparations. David, my fiancé, was an architect swamped with a major project, so he left most of the planning to me. I didn't mind. Organization was my strength. A week before the wedding, I got an unexpected call. "Miss Carter, this is Charles Grayson." His voice sounded different over the phone, warmer, almost emotional. "Mr. Grayson, what a surprise. Is something wrong with the latest report?" "No, nothing like that. I just wanted to personally confirm I'll be at your wedding." He paused. "And I'd like to ask a special favor." "Of course, anything you need." "I'd like to give a short speech at the reception. I know it's unusual for a client to speak at a wedding." "But no problem," I replied, caught off guard. "It'd be an honor." There was a brief silence. "Thank you, Sophia. It means more than you know." After hanging up, I couldn't shake the strangeness of the call. In the 3 years I'd worked with him, I'd never heard him sound so unguarded. The wedding day arrived, and everything was perfect. The church was adorned with white roses, my gown flowed with a delicate veil, and David stood at the altar, his smile both nervous and warm. My dad walked me down the aisle, his eyes brimming with tears. The ceremony was breathtaking. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, my heart swelled with joy. But the reception was where everything shifted. The grand ballroom at the Starlight Hotel buzzed with laughter and music. Charles Grayson sat at the VIP table, his expression unreadable. Emily, who'd had a bit too much champagne, grabbed the microphone during the toasts. "Dear guests," she slurred slightly, "I'd like to raise a glass to my dear sister, if we can even call her that." heart stopped. You see, I always wondered why we looked so different. Me, blonde like Mom, and her, well, not. And there's a reason for that. Emily, sit down. Mom stood, her face pale. No, it's time everyone knew the truth. My sister, the perfect businesswoman, the flawless bride, was adopted from a foster home when she was 2. The silence that followed was deafening. I felt the world freeze. David squeezed my hand under the table, but I was paralyzed. Then a chair scraped across the floor. Charles Grayson stood, his commanding presence silencing the room. "Miss Emily," he said, his voice steady and clear, "since you're so keen on sharing truths, let me add to your story." He turned to me, and for the first time, I saw tears in his eyes. "Sophia, you weren't adopted from a foster home. I placed you in adoption. I'm your biological father." Emily dropped the microphone, the thud echoing in the stunned silence. And this was just the beginning of a revelation that would change our lives forever. The quiet in the ballroom was suffocating. My wedding gown, which had made me feel like royalty moments ago, now felt like a heavy burden. What are you saying?" Emily's voice shook, her earlier confidence gone. Charles Grayson stepped toward me, each footfall resounding in the hushed room. "Sophia, I know this isn't the right time or place, but your sister left me no choice. I couldn't let you believe you were abandoned in a foster home." My adoptive mother stood, trembling. "Charles, after all these years," I spun toward her. "You knew him. You knew who he was when I invited him." "Sweetheart, that's why you were so nervous about the invitation." The pieces were falling into place. "How long have you known?" David, now my husband, placed a hand on my shoulder. "Sophia, breathe. We'll get through this." But my mind was spinning. I looked at Charles Grayson, really looked at him. His eyes were identical to mine. How had I missed it? "Mr. Grayson, please call me Charles." "Charles," I said, my voice unsteady. "Why now? Why come into my life as a client 3 years ago and say nothing?" He ran a hand through his graying hair, a gesture I recognized as my own when I was nervous. "When your consulting firm caught my attention, I couldn't believe it. Sophia Carter, expert in corporate restructuring. I saw your photo on your website. You looked just like your mother, like my Elizabeth." "Elizabeth," I whispered, "your biological mother, the most brilliant, courageous woman I ever knew." Emily, who'd been unusually quiet, let out a bitter laugh. "How convenient. The mighty CEO turns out to be your dad. Do you know how much money he's worth? Billions. And you," she pointed at me accusingly, "you're not even really part of our family." Emily, my adoptive father, finally spoke. "That's enough. Enough. Do you know how long I've lived in the shadow of your perfect daughter? And she's not even yours." Charles turned to her, his voice icy. "Miss Emily, I suggest you sit down. There's a lot you don't understand about this situation." The guests were whispering, some pulling out their phones, likely posting the drama online. My dream wedding had turned into a spectacle. "David," I whispered, "I need air." Without a word, my husband took my hand and led me to the hotel's garden. Charles followed, and after a moment, my adoptive parents did too. In the moonlight, Charles began to speak. Sophia, I met your mother, Elizabeth, when we were young entrepreneurs. Her tech startup was transforming the industry. We fell in love and married in secret because my family disapproved. When she got pregnant with you, it was the happiest time of our lives. He paused, his eyes glistening. But some people didn't want Horizon Enterprises to have an heir from what they called outsider blood. There were threats, sabotage attempts against Elizabeth's company. And then, my voice was barely audible. There was an accident. Elizabeth's car was tampered with. She knew she was in danger. A week earlier, she'd made arrangements with an adoption agency. She made me swear that if anything happened to her, I'd place you with a family who could keep you safe. My adoptive mother sobbed. Charles came to us because I'd worked with Elizabeth. We knew the risks you faced. Risks? David asked, his arm protectively around me. Is there still danger? Charles shook his head. No, those responsible were caught years ago, but by then, you'd grown up in a loving family. I didn't want to disrupt your life. So why hire my firm? I asked. I wanted to know you, to see the woman you'd become. And when I saw your brilliance, your integrity, your compassion, I knew you were just like Elizabeth. I sank onto a garden bench, my gown pooling around me. All those business meetings, those contracts, every moment was genuine, Charles said quickly. Your work is outstanding. But yes, it was also a way to be near you. A shout from the ballroom interrupted us. Emily staggered into the garden, still unsteady. This is ridiculous. So now you're the heir to Horizon Enterprises. The poor orphan turns out to be a princess. Emily, my adoptive father, grabbed her arm. Enough. No. Do you know why I spilled your secret today? Because you've always had everything, love, success, and now a billionaire dad. Charles stood taller, his presence commanding under the moonlight. Miss Emily, your sister has what she has because she earned it. If you're jealous of her success, maybe you should reflect on your own choices instead of trying to ruin her happiness. Emily yanked free and turned to me, her eyes blazing. Guess what else I found out, little sister? Your perfect consulting firm. Guess who's been leaking confidential info to your competitors? My heart sank. What? Oh, yeah. Remember all those files I offered to review? It was so easy. I couldn't hold back. For the first time in my life, I stood and slapped my sister. The sound echoed like a gunshot. The silence was broken by slow clapping. We turned to see an elegant, middle-aged woman at the garden entrance. Well done, Emily. You've finally shown your true colors, she said. Victoria, Charles paled. What are you doing here? Your sister, my adoptive mother whispered. Victoria Grayson stepped forward, her heels clicking on the stone path. Did you think I wouldn't hear about this little family reunion, Charles? About you finding Elizabeth's child? Emily smirked, touching her cheek where I'd struck her. Mrs. Grayson, I see you got my message. My mind raced. You've been working with her. Oh, Darling, Victoria said with a venomous smile, Emily's been quite helpful these past few years. Who do you think got her that bank job? We needed someone close to you. Charles stepped forward. Victoria, Elizabeth's accident, was that you? Of course, she replied without remorse. I wasn't going to let that woman and her child inherit what belongs to the Grayson family. She pulled an envelope from her purse. And now, I have proof your precious daughter's been selling corporate secrets to competitors. That's a lie, I said, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. Emily was the one leaking information. Victoria laughed. And who's going to believe you? I have documents proving it was you. No, you don't, David said, stepping forward with his phone. I've recorded this entire conversation, including Emily's confession about the corporate espionage. Emily went pale. You can't. Oh, he can. Another voice cut in. My assistant, Lisa, emerged from the shadows, holding her tablet. And that's not all. We have evidence of the bank transfers from Mrs. Grayson to Emily's offshore account. We found them months ago. Victoria's smile faltered. What? I straightened, smoothing my gown. Did you really think I wouldn't notice the leaks? I'm a corporate restructuring consultant, Aunt Victoria. My job is spotting irregularities. When I found them, we started tracing everything, every file, every transfer, every email. That's why I insisted you be my best man, Charles, David added. Sophia needed to keep you close and safe while we gathered evidence. Charles looked at me with pride and awe. You're just like your mother. Elizabeth was always 3 steps ahead. This is absurd, Emily shouted. You have no proof. Oh, you mean this proof? Lisa projected documents onto the garden wall with a portable projector. The emails between you and Mrs. Grayson, the bank transfers, the recordings of your secret meetings. Victoria stepped back. You can't use this, I finished. I already have. Horizon Enterprises board will get a full report tomorrow morning, along with the bank's board and the authorities. Charles, we can make a deal, Victoria stammered. No, we can't, Charles said firmly. It's over, Victoria. Elizabeth's legacy will finally be honored. Emily collapsed onto a bench. I just wanted to be special too. You were always the favorite, the successful one. My adoptive mother approached her. Emily, you were special too, but you chose the wrong path. I stepped toward my sister, my gown rustling. The saddest part, Emily, you didn't need to do this. I always looked up to you, wanted us to be close. But you saw me as competition instead of family. Several men in suits entered the garden. Mrs. Victoria Grayson, Miss Emily Carter, you need to come with us. As they led Victoria and Emily away, I turned to my adoptive parents. I'm so sorry your love and sacrifice were repaid like this. My mom hugged me tightly. You did nothing wrong, sweetheart. You'll always be our daughter. Charles approached hesitantly. Sophia, I know this isn't the time, but I don't expect anything from you. I just wanted to protect you, and I cut him off with a hug. I have room in my heart for 2 fathers. David joined us. How about we get back to the party? It's still our wedding, after all. Wait, I said, remembering something. I turned to Charles. All those years, the contracts, the projects, they were real, he assured me. Your work was exceptional. In fact, he pulled an envelope from his jacket. This was my wedding gift. Horizon Enterprises needs a new CEO to lead with ethics and vision. Your mother, Elizabeth, deserved this role 20 years ago. It's time her legacy continues, if you want it. I looked at David, who nodded with a smile, then at my adoptive parents, beaming with pride, and finally at Charles, my biological father, offering me a future and a connection to my past. I'll do it, I said, but on one condition. What's that? I want to start a foundation in Elizabeth's name to support young women entrepreneurs in achieving their dreams. Charles smiled, tears in his eyes. Your mother would be so proud. We returned to the reception, where guests awaited eagerly. The music started again, and David led me to the dance floor. You okay? He whispered as we swayed. I looked around at my adoptive parents, who'd given me endless love at Charles, now part of my life at Lisa, who'd helped uncover the truth, and at my husband, who'd stood by me through it all. Yes, I said, smiling. For the first time, everything feels right. The night went on, and though it wasn't the wedding I'd planned, it was better. It was real, honest, and marked not just the start of my marriage, but a new chapter in my life. As I danced with Charles, my biological father, he whispered, Elizabeth always said the truth finds a way to shine. It just needs the right moment. She was right. Sometimes, the most painful revelations lead to the most beautiful places. My wedding, which began with a cruel twist, ended as the day everything fell into place. Now, as I write this from my office at Horizon Enterprises, with Elizabeth's photo on my desk and the love of 3 parents in my heart, I know every step, every hurt, every surprise was worth it, because in the end, the truth doesn't just set us free, it makes us stronger.